Hello! How are you doing this wonderful day? Welcome to the human experience, and I am your host at True Him, here to compassionately express what is going on in my life and the life of others that I encounter throughout mindfully obtaining nature's kindness. Now, if you're unfamiliar with what the human experience is, the human experience is a forum and platform for individuals to compassionately express what resides in their hearts so that you, the viewer, can experience said compassion in that person. Now, this is brought out by being asked 7 questions that were formulated to take the interviewee on a ride of self-expression, free self-expression, freely being able to self-express themselves, which has the world in a tizzy right now. I think that there is a lot of false senses of self-expression, and people are not truly living and expressing their truths to the world. They're expressing jaded forms of what they uh, of what society may deem or has shaped to what their truth may be. And I'm here to be a conduit. And when you say be a conduit to what? I say I'm here to be a conduit for people to get to know themselves. It's no, there's no coincidence that for those who don't know or may not know, I speak to people about being the happiest that they can possibly be. And I was born with this mission to be able to get individuals to express themselves and to fall in love with themselves and know that they were born with everything that they need to make an inevitable impact in this world and in their environments that they find themselves in. And I find it to not be a coincidence that that is the thing that I have chosen to talk about, or the topic that I've chosen to talk about, because I am definitely on a journey of self-love, self-discovery, and self-expression. Expressing that which is my truth to the world so that I can be of service to those around me and within my environments. And I find myself in a lot of different environments. And what has been going on in my life and in my environments as of recent is I've been hearing or have experienced death. I know last week you may have heard me briefly talk about that with Lenny from HMJ, but since it's just me today, I just wanted to get into that deeper conversation um, about death, because um, I have a familiarity with it, having um, almost died 3 times within my life, within my short life. And that first time was when I was being born, and I was being born with my umbilical cord wrapped around my neck. And then my mother had to get a cesarean section in order for me to be born healthy. So that was my first experience with battling death. And I've come to find out years later that that experience still lives within me, because I still have the birth traumas from that. And that's why um, I don't like things around my neck. I don't like having my neck feel constricted. And I know that it's directly tied to that birth trauma. And then the second time that I almost died was when I had to be no more than a year and a half, maybe 2 at the most. And the house that I was living in uh, got caught on fire, and one of my aunts who was watching me um, threw me out of the window to save my life. So and she later had jumped out afterwards too. So that was the second time that I almost died in my short span of life. And then that third time was when I was a boy of no more than 10 years old, and we were on a family vacation, and we were in a canoe at the time in the river in Pennsylvania, and the canoe tipped over, and I remember floating in the water and with my cousin grabbing onto me, and I vividly remember expressing to my cousin to let me go and save himself. You know, and I think that experience there left me forever scarred and with a enormous sense of self doubt, because I wondered, and I always wondered to myself, why did I tell him to let me go? What did that mean for me? What did that mean that I was saying let me go so he can save himself? Was I saying let me go because I was ready to die? You know, was I saying let me go because I didn't want to fight for my life? And mind you, I knew how to swim by that time. So that has always been a conundrum that I found myself in, wondering, why did I say let me go? And that is something that has been with me ever since. And so through that, I have had in my life experiences the ups and downs of being able to have something very traumatic happen, and um, and allow that to affect me in a way that would have me feeling less than self. You know, like I remember a time when I lost my dad at the age of 12, right? So that was one of the very first times that I could remember really experiencing and dealing with death, right? And I remember through that time, here's how the trajectory of that happened. My father, I'm the youngest of 11 children. And so my father had me my mother and father had me at a very late stage within their lives. And so I remember vividly growing up that my dad would always be in and out of the hospital. And this one time in sixth grade, or my sixth grade year, he had pretty much spent, I believe, most of that year in the hospital. And so at the end of the year, I had gotten a water gun, and I brought this water gun to school. And I was like, all right, cool. I'm bringing this water gun to school because I thought it was the end of the year, and I thought it would be fun to spray my teachers with a water gun. Why not, right? You know, I'm a kid. I didn't think anything of it. And so I remember going through that experience, and we went and we sprayed these teachers with water guns, and I had on my getaway, I got caught by some other teachers, and I remember just blacking out and going into a fit of rage and trying to get away and cursing and all that stuff. And due to that incident, I had to go to the police station and do all of that. And I also had to that following year, I had to go receive counseling. And I remember in that counseling, they were trying to say that, my father being sick and all this time, and me using these water guns was an expression of the anger that I had built up with inside of me. And I was like, I don't feel like I was angry. I just wanted to have some fun and spray the teachers with a water gun. Like, that was fun. That wasn't anger. I didn't think. And then later when I revisit that, maybe it was a form of lashing out, but in my heart of hearts, I really don't think it was, because it was literally the idea and the plan was to just, it was going to be fun to go spray some teachers with water guns. That was it. It was a simple kids joke that they tried to attribute to me latching out. And I also remember in that summer I was shipped off to California because my cousin was having her quinceañera that year, and so since my dad was being sick and I had gotten in trouble at the end of that year, my mom sent me to California to stay for that whole summer because, you know, my cousin and you know, was there to discipline me and to keep me in order since my dad was sick, you know. And I remember that when I got back from that trip in California, literally the first thing we did was I got off the plane and I went to the hospital to go see my dad. And the last picture that I remember of my father was him laying in a hospital bed with with this green stuff running down his chin. And I remember coming in there and being very distraught at that, like, what the, like, I was using expletives to describe, like, yo, what is this? Like, what is going on? Like, why does he even look like this? And so that was the last look I had. And then, you know, the very next day, we got the call that, you know, that my dad had passed away. And so from that experience, and I remember the funeral and going to the funeral and kind of being numb. And I remember walking up to the casket and just seeing my dad laying there, and he still looked like he was alive. So, you know, big ups to the mortician, because he did a hell of a job, because I still thought he was alive. I thought it was like one of those wax museum type things, right? So so I walk up there and I remember still carrying on a conversation with my dad, like, hey, you know, I don't remember exactly what I said, but I remember standing there and having a conversation with him. And at this time, I still hadn't cried yet, or I hadn't, like, really expressed the weight of that experience. And it was just, it wasn't until at the particular part of the funeral, my dad had the great fortune of being able to play characters on the Howard Stern show. He was a janitor in the building where Howard Stern used to shoot his radio station. Do his radio shows. And so my dad would play characters on that show, as well as when Howard Stern had the TV show, my dad would go on there as well. His name is Ted the Janitor. And so Howard Stern sent these clips for, you know, at my dad's funeral. Howard Stern had sent the clips of, like, my dad's, like, recordings. And I remember going through that and being there and being at the funeral and hearing people laugh and, you know, all this laughter go on. And that was the thing that had me explode. And I just remember busting out of the room and just crying about, you know, wanting to, like, missing my dad and wanting my dad, you know. And that experience is still always with me to this day. So much so that when I got to college, there was a time when I got my first apartment, and it was the end of the summer. I didn't go home after college. You know, I went after that end of that semester, second semester in my freshman year. I moved right into an apartment and never went back home to Jersey. And so I remember that summer, I got a call from one of my brothers, and he was like, hey, you know, today is the day that Daddy passed. And I was like, no, I don't remember that, actually. And I remember feeling this overwhelming sense of guilt that I was so stuck in my own world that I didn't even remember that my dad passed away. Now, the question is this something that I chose to forget because of the pain that is attached to not having my father in my life anymore due to death? Or was it I was smoking too much weed? I don't know. You know, but I remember this overwhelming sense of guilt, and I remember calling my mother and speaking with her about that. And now that I think about it, I think it was something that I really chose to block out, because every year that it comes around, I know I choose not to remember that, because it was such, being the youngest of 11, there's so much there is resentment that I have, for not having my dad in my life to witness certain things. Like, he didn't get to witness me playing football in high school, and scoring winning touchdowns, and winning games. He didn't get a chance to witness me running track. He didn't get a chance to witness me walking across the stage, graduating from high school or college. Like, he wasn't there to teach me how to drive a car, which was very big in my family, because my dad loved to drive, and taught all my brothers and sisters like how to drive. Like, that was a great bonding time that they had, with him. And I didn't get a chance to experience any of that, because being the youngest, and him being sick throughout the majority of my young years, I didn't get a chance to experience that. But what I did get a chance to experience, and I think what was passed on to me was the love of entertainment, because I started to realize, even though my dad was an individual who was from Savannah, Georgia, and had no more than a fifth grade education, I was still amazed at how he knew how to get everywhere. And it started to make me think that, like, for an individual that didn't know how to read, he was a hell of a smart man, because what he had to do to be able to present himself to the world as a person that wasn't looked down upon for not being able to read, is he had to learn how to deal with and relate to people to still extract the information that he needed to get to still present himself as in a position of authority. And it takes a lot for an individual to be able to do that, and it takes an immense amount of ingenuity, to be able to coerce people into getting the information you need from them. Example, I remember sometimes that I would come home from school, and my dad would have a piece of mail or something, and he'd be like, "Hey, boy, what's going on? Let me see what you learned today." And he would give me like the mail to read to him, right? So I'm sitting here thinking, like, my dad is like wants to see what I learned, but yeah, that was in there. But he really wanted to know what that bill was saying, and how much he owed, and who this was coming from. So, in order to not feel less than, he empowered me, right? To say, "Oh, let me see what you learned, boy," and give me that fatherly love, and give that pat on the back when I was able to read that letter to him. And and that's what leads me to say that, just because you may not have a formal education does not mean that you do not have an immense amount of knowledge and wealth of knowledge to offer the world. And those were some of the things that I learned through my dad, and the death of my dad. And so, through that experience, I've experienced death time and time and time and time and time and time and time again. And my relationship with death has evolved into understanding that death is a natural part of life. So within death, there is life. And within death, the life of that individual now lives on through you, and what your memories are of that individual, and how you can choose to express what it is that you had learned from that individual. Now their life is carried on through you, and through your expressions of the gems and jewels that you were able to learn from them, good or bad. So then that makes that person's life something of value, something impactful, made their life worthwhile. because you were able to experience them. And so now I say all that, and I revel all of that because, um, now when I hear people talk about so and so died or this person has died, I get a different feeling about it. I don't feel the sadness that resides within death. I don't feel the aloneness that one would experience due to the death of a significant other or loved one, because through the experiences of death that have happened in my life, I've known how to celebrate the life, and how that death of that person um, is just the continuation of them in another lifetime, and a transition from that into this lifetime. For those that believe in reincarnation, I happen to believe in reincarnation, and I say what makes me plausibly be able to say that reincarnation is real, because if you look at what recycling is, right? So reincarnation is the recycling of life. Just like we recycle trees and plastic into other forms, into other things, I think that there is a direct through line through the recycling of inanimate objects to the recycling of untangible things like life. And so, that's just me. That's just how I make it make sense of the world. Let me know what you think through the watching of this, of how you feel past lives and future lives, and the recycling of life and reincarnation is a very real thing. I would love to have that conversation. And so, most recently, a death that I have that I've encountered that has been extremely impactful is a lady that I considered an auntie. We weren't related through blood, but we were related through faith and through Buddhism. So I call her my Buddha auntie. And what I was able to learn from this woman in the 2 years, and especially within the last year and a half of me being around her, was that I learned what it is to have faith, and I learned what it is to have faith in action on top of that. Because this was a woman who I literally saw go from being homeless or being without to having abundance and being able to create abundance in her life. And I was able to get the gems and jewels. Like, she made me appreciate myself that much more. She made me understand that I was a powerful person, and the law of Nam Myoho Renge Kyo is very real and very tangible. Because I saw her manifest. The last great thing that I've seen her manifest within her life is I saw her manifest a car. And in this car, she took a cross-country trip all by herself. She went from Los Angeles, California to Florida to go attend a people of African American descent conference in Florida. And from Florida, she went from Florida to Atlanta, to Virginia, to Louisiana, to New Jersey, to Philadelphia, then to Texas, and then back to LA. All by herself. No job, but only faith. And through faith, she manifested a hell of a trip because she was able to touch people's lives in each of those places. She actually went and visited my mother, who she never knew. Only way she knew my mom was through me. And so I was able to connect them, and my mom, that short time she was there, she encouraged and inspired my mom, who is 77 years old. Um, yeah, who's 77, no, 76, about to be 77, who inspired my mom to face her courage and get up and start driving in the elements, and making sure she goes to meetings and speak to people about Buddhism. This lady was able to encourage my mom through that. And this lady, which is the irony of it, just died a week ago, about 2 weeks ago, in a car accident. Now, it's mind-boggling that she would make a cross-country trip all by herself to then come back to Los Angeles and then die in a car accident. You know, and as I wrapped my head around what that was, it was just like, and I'm still experiencing it. I still have not had a chance to fully release the way that I feel. And I think it's because, and that was also what she was helping me with in the short time that I was with her, how to freely express myself, because that was what also another thing that I was able to gain from her. That this lady, Lauren Cozine, was a walking ball of expression. She told you how she felt when she felt it, and would there would be some love in it, although it may came out hard. It may have come out very harsh. There was always some love behind it, and there was always a wisdom and a gem or a jewel that there was to gain from that experience with her, although you may have thought she was crazy. And that was one of the things that she would constantly tell me. You know, why are you bottled up? You need to let that go. You need to express yourself. You need to just let it out. You need to stand in your power, stand in your greatness, stand in and be the king and be the leader of the world that you can be. You know, that was the kind of encouragement that she would constantly pour into me. Those are the lessons and the jewels and the gems that I'm going to be able to carry on, thus affirming her life, thus allowing the expression of what she had to offer the world, to allow that to continue on through me and my actions and what it is that I choose to express and do for the world. It's a beautiful thing to be able to experience people for who they are, and then use that reflection to see what it is that you can work on in your life, because the things that may get on your nerves about a person are oftentimes things that get on your nerves about yourself. So the people that you encounter within your life are just reflections of how you feel on the inside and what you really think in the world. And so when you're interacting with people in life and in death, the lesson to be learned is, what is it reflecting about you? How can you use this opportunity and interaction with that individual to further develop yourself? And that is how you can allow not one life to be of waste. Because if you are able to learn something from that individual, whether it was a good experience that you had with that person or a bad experience, the better you are for learning something from it. So then that way, that person's life had value, and you can thank them. You can thank them for being able to add value to your life because you were able to learn from them. And that is the importance and the interconnectedness that life provides us. So I would like to thank the viewers who are choosing to hone in to this particular broadcast today. Thank you for being here. Please know that I hope that through my life and through my experiences and through you choosing to join the human experience, I hope that you're able to gain something and learn something from this. And I would love to interact with you even more. So when you hop on, please send me a shout out. Let me know you're here. Let me know you care. Because I'm here to inspire you to be the happiest that you can possibly be. And whether that's through my kind words, and there's things that you're looking at and you're seeing and could be better in this or better in that, or I would do this differently, or I learned that from this person or from me, then I've done my job. And that, I say thank you. And so please continue to provide the feedback and interact, because the thing that bonds me to the we is the E, which stands for everyone. And everyone deserves to be happy. And I'm here to help you reach that happiness. So thank you for joining the Human Experience this week. My name is True Him. And please know that you are worthy, you are beautiful, and you have something to contribute to the world that no one else can provide. And in your life, it is your job and it is your mission to express that truth that resides within you, so that in your death, you will live on in the way that you affected others. So that's about it for today. I just really wanted to talk about and express my feelings upon death. And I think that's why I don't necessarily cry anymore at death, or when I hear that somebody has passed on. It affects me, but not in a way but it doesn't negatively impact me. And that was what I was able to learn from my dad and from my aunts and from countless other people that I've known that have passed away in my life that have had an effect on me, because I'm able to use the gems and the jewels that I was able to learn from those individuals. And that keeps them alive. So with that being said, be peaceful, be happy, be productive, and be dynamic, because you have the power to do so. So thank you all for joining the Human Experience. I am your host at True Him, and join us next week where we have another individual that is ready to compassionately express themselves. So thank you to the viewers that chose to chime in and pay attention to this experience. Whoever you are out there, please let me know, because I would love to interact with you. How about that? All right, so peace. I am True Him. Holla at me on Instagram. You can holler at me at TRUHIM. On Facebook, you can holler at me at HIMYO Green. And I'm just going to continue to keep expressing and keep growing and keep evolving, and I will not be stopped. The only thing that will get in my way of expressing and changing the world is me. And I'm very cognizant of that. And so what you are witnessing is my evolution and my growth of expanding the love that I have for myself. Because through the love that I gained for myself, it will be the love that you experience by being in my presence. And that ain't no arrogant shit. That just means that I got a lot of love to give. And there's a lot of things that I want to change in this world. And with you, we'll be able to change it together. So peace, blessings, thank you. Nam-myoho Renge Kyo, Nam-myoho Renge Kyo, Nam-myoho Renge Kyo. For those who don't know what that means devotion to the mystic law of cause and effect through sound and teaching. So with that, get in rhythm. Hafa!